Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! Golden hour bathed the cozy cafe in a soft amber glow, illuminating the gentle haze of steam rising from freshly brewed coffee. Kieran, with his unkempt blonde locks, occupied his favorite spot, a secluded corner table where he pretended to immerse himself in a classic novel. His focus, however, wavered as his gaze persistently strayed toward the star of his secret affections, Amira. Gracefully maneuvering behind the bar, Amira created tiny masterpieces in the form of latte art, a skill she had perfected over the months. Her dark eyes, full of life and merriment, captivated everyone around as she engaged in light banter with the patrons. Kieran observed, entranced by the captivating allure that seemed to envelop her. As the rush dwindled, Amira approached Kieran with familiarity, a smile brightening her face. "Anything else I can grab for you?" she said, her voice like silk, causing Kieran's heart to skip a beat and his words to stumble awkwardly. "Oh, no, I'm good, thanks." Amira tilted her head, a knowing smile playing on her lips. "You know, I've seen you here almost every day for the past month. I'm starting to think it's not just for the coffee." Kieran's eyes widened, and he struggled to form a coherent response. It's a nice atmosphere for reading." "Right," Amira said, her tone playful. "Well, my shift's almost over. Want to grab a bite to eat? There's this great little vintage shop next door I've been meaning to check out." Kieran blinked, surprised by the invitation. "Sure," he managed, his heart racing. As they left the cafe, Kieran noticed Amira's outfit for the first time. A flowing sundress in a vibrant shade of yellow. It suited her perfectly, enhancing her natural radiance. The vintage shop was a treasure trove of eclectic items. Amira immediately gravitated towards a rack of dresses, running her fingers along the various fabrics. Kieran trailed behind, unsure of what to do with himself in such an unfamiliar environment. "Oh, look at this!" Amira exclaimed, pulling out a deep blue dress with delicate lace trim. "Isn't it gorgeous?" Kieran nodded, admiring the intricate details. "It's beautiful," he agreed. Amira held the dress up to herself, twirling slightly. "I wonder how it looks on," she mused. Then her eyes lit up with an idea. "Hey, Kieran, why don't you try it on?" Kieran froze, his mind struggling to process her words. "What? Me? But it's a dress." Amira laughed, the sound light and carefree. "So, it's just for fun. Come on, live a little." Kieran hesitated, his heart pounding. Part of him wanted to refuse, to stick to the safety of societal norms, but another part, a part he'd kept buried deep inside, was intrigued by the idea.
I don't know,"
he stammered. Amira's expression softened.
"Hey, it's okay.
"You don't have to if you're not comfortable. I just thought it might be fun to shake things up a bit." Something in her words resonated with Kieran. He took a deep breath, steeling himself. "No, you're right. Why not?" Amira's face lit up. "Really? That's the spirit." She handed him the dress and ushered him towards the changing room. "Go on! I can't wait to see!" Kieran stepped into the small cubicle, his hands trembling slightly as he held the dress. He carefully removed his gray t-shirt and jeans, folding them neatly on the bench. Then, with a mix of trepidation and excitement, he slipped the dress over his head. The fabric whispered against his skin, cool and smooth. Kieran adjusted the dress, marveling at how it hugged his body in unexpected ways. He turned to look in the mirror and gasped softly. The person staring back at him was different, softer somehow, yet strangely empowered. The deep blue color brought out the gold flecks in his hazel eyes, and the lace detailing added an air of elegance he'd never associated with himself before. "How's it going in there?" Amira called from outside. Kieran took a deep breath. I'm coming out," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. He stepped out of the changing room, his eyes downcast. Slowly, he raised his gaze to meet Amira's. Her expression was one of wonder and admiration. "Wow, Kieran," she breathed. "You look amazing." Kieran felt a warmth spread through his chest at her words. He straightened his posture, allowing himself to fully inhabit the dress. "How does it feel?" Amira asked, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Kieran considered the question.
It feels freeing,
he admitted.
Like I'm seeing a whole new side of myself.
Amira beamed. "That's fantastic! You know, clothes aren't just about gender. They're about expression, about feeling good in your own skin." As they continued to explore the shop, Kieran found himself drawn to other items he'd never considered before. A silk scarf, a pair of delicate earrings, a floral-patterned blouse. With each piece he tried on, he felt a little more of his true self emerging. Amira watched him with growing interest, offering encouragement and compliments. "You have a natural grace," she observed as Kieran twirled in a flowing skirt. "It's like you're coming alive." Kieran smiled, a genuine, unguarded expression that lit up his entire face. "I feel alive," he said softly. "I've never felt like this before." As the sun began to set, casting long shadows through the shop windows, Amira suggested they head out for dinner. Kieran hesitated, looking down at the dress he was still wearing. Do you think I could wear this out?" he asked, tentatively. Amira's face broke into a wide grin. "Absolutely. You look stunning. Why hide it?" With a mix of nervousness and exhilaration, Kieran decided to keep the dress on. He paid for it at the counter, along with a few other items that had caught his eye. As they stepped out onto the street, Kieran felt exposed, vulnerable. But Amira's steady presence beside him gave him courage. They walked to a nearby restaurant, the warm evening air caressing Kieran's bare arms. To his surprise, no one seemed to pay him much attention. A few people glanced their way, but most were absorbed in their own conversations or hurrying to their destinations. At the restaurant, the host seated them with a polite smile, not batting an eye at Kieran's attire. As they settled into their seats, Kieran felt a wave of relief wash over him. "See?" Amira said, reaching across the table to squeeze his hand. "You're perfect, just as you are." As they enjoyed their meal, Kieran found himself opening up more than he ever had before. He shared his long-held fascination with fashion and beauty, interests he'd always felt compelled to hide.
"I used to sneak into my mom's closet when I was younger,"
he confessed.
"I'd try on her clothes and makeup when no one was home, but I always felt so ashamed afterward."
Amira listened attentively, her eyes full of compassion. "There's nothing to be ashamed of," she assured him. "You're exploring who you are. That's beautiful and brave." As the evening wore on, Kieran felt a shift within himself. The initial nervousness had given way to a sense of liberation. He sat up straighter, laughed more freely, and even dared to flirt a little with Amira. For her part, Amira seemed to be seeing Kieran in a new light. She leaned in closer as he spoke, her eyes lingering on his face. There was a newfound electricity between them, born of shared vulnerability and acceptance. After dinner, they strolled through a nearby park, the streetlights casting a soft glow on the path. Kieran reveled in the feeling of the dress swishing around his legs as he walked.
You know,
Amira said, breaking a comfortable silence.
when I first suggested you try on the dress, I had no idea it would lead to all this, but I'm so glad it did.
Kieran smiled, his heart swelling with gratitude.
Me too. I feel like I'm finally becoming who I was always meant to be.
They stopped at a small bridge overlooking a pond. Moonlight danced on the water's surface, creating a magical atmosphere. Kieran turned to Amira, feeling a surge of courage.
Amira,
he began, his voice soft but steady.
Thank you for today. For seeing me. Really seeing me. I've never felt so... myself.
Amira's eyes shimmered in the moonlight.
Kieran?
She whispered, stepping closer.
You're beautiful, inside and out.
Their lips met in a gentle kiss, full of promise and new beginnings. As they pulled apart, Kieran felt a sense of completeness he'd never experienced before. In the days and weeks that followed, Kieran continued to explore his newfound identity. He experimented with different styles, mixing traditionally masculine and feminine elements to create looks that felt authentically him. Amira was by his side every step of the way, offering support and encouragement. She helped him navigate the complexities of makeup application and introduced him to her diverse group of friends who welcomed Kieran with open arms. As Kieran grew more comfortable in his skin, he decided to take a bold step. He applied for a job at a local boutique, combining his newfound passion for fashion with his natural talent for customer service. The day of his interview arrived, and Kieran stood before his mirror, adjusting the collar of a chic blouse. His blonde hair, now grown out a bit, framed his face softly. He'd applied a subtle touch of makeup, enhancing his features without overpowering them. Amira appeared in the doorway, her face glowing with pride. "You've got this," she said, giving him a quick kiss. "Go show them the amazing person you are." Kieran took a deep breath, straightening his posture. "I will," he said, his voice filled with determination. As he walked to the boutique, Kieran reflected on the journey that had brought him to this moment. From the shy, reserved person he'd been just months ago, to the confident individual he was becoming, all because he'd dared to try on a dress. The boutique was elegant and inviting, filled with an eclectic mix of clothing and accessories. Kieran approached the counter, where a stylish woman with cropped hair greeted him.
Hi, I'm Kieran,
he said, his voice steady.
I'm here for the interview.
The woman smiled warmly. Of course! I'm Valerie, the owner. Please come to the back office. As they walked through the store, Kieran couldn't help but admire the beautiful displays. He found himself mentally styling outfits, imagining how he'd help customers find their perfect look. In the office, Valerie gestured for Kieran to take a seat. So, Kieran, she began, tell me what drew you to apply here. Kieran took a deep breath, deciding to be completely honest.
Well, to be frank, it all started when I tried on a dress for the first time a few months ago. It was like discovering a whole new world, a part of myself I'd never known existed. Since then, I've fallen in love with fashion and the power it has to help people express their true selves. Valerie leaned forward, intrigued. That's fascinating. Can you tell me more about your journey? For the next hour, Kieran shared his story, the initial fear, the exhilaration of self-discovery, and the joy of embracing his authentic self. He talked about the transformative power of clothing and how he wanted to help others find that same sense of empowerment. As the interview drew to a close, Valerie sat back in her chair, a pleased expression on her face. "Kieran," she said, "I have to say, your passion is infectious. We're not just selling clothes here. We're helping people find their confidence. I think you'd be a perfect fit for our team." Kieran's heart soared. "Really? That's amazing!" Valerie stood, extending her hand. "Welcome aboard. Can you start next week?" Kieran shook her hand enthusiastically, barely containing his excitement. "Absolutely! Thank you so much for this opportunity." As he left the boutique, Kieran felt like he was walking on air. He pulled out his phone to call Amira, eager to share the good news. "I got the job!" he exclaimed as soon as she answered. Amira's joyful laugh came through the speaker. "I knew you would. Oh, Kieran, I'm so proud of you. We have to celebrate." They agreed to meet at their favorite cafe, the very place where their journey had begun. As Kieran walked, he marveled at how much had changed in such a short time. He no longer felt the need to hide or blend in. Instead, he moved with confidence, embracing the curious glances his stylish outfit attracted. Amira was waiting for him outside the cafe, her face lighting up as she saw him approach. She pulled him into a tight hug, then stepped back to admire his outfit. "Look at you," she said, her voice full of admiration. "You're glowing." Kieran smiled, feeling a warmth spread through his chest. "I feel amazing," he admitted. "Like I'm finally living as my true self." They entered the cafe, the familiar scent of coffee and pastries enveloping them. As they settled into a cozy corner booth, Kieran couldn't help but reflect on how far he'd come.
"You know,"
he said, reaching across the table to take Amira's hand.
"I owe so much of this to you. If you hadn't encouraged me to try on that dress,"
Amira squeezed his hand,
"I may have opened the door, but you're the one who had the courage to walk through it. You should be proud of yourself, Kieran."
As they sipped their lattes and shared a slice of cake, Kieran felt a profound sense of contentment. He was embarking on a new chapter of his life, one filled with self-discovery, love, and endless possibilities. The cafe bustled around them, but in their corner, time seemed to stand still. Kieran gazed at Amira, marveling at the twist of fate that had brought them together. Her acceptance and encouragement had been the catalyst for his transformation, but it was his own inner strength that had carried him through.
"I never imagined I could feel this comfortable in my own skin,"
Kieran mused, running a hand through his blonde hair. "It's like I've been wearing a mask my whole life, and now I finally get to be me." Amira nodded, her eyes shining with understanding. "That's the beauty of self-discovery. It's never too late to become who you've always been meant to be." As the evening wore on, they discussed Kieran's new job and the exciting possibilities it held. Kieran shared his ideas for helping customers find their own unique style, regardless of gender norms or societal expectations.
"I want to create a safe space,"
he explained, his voice passionate. A place where people can experiment and express themselves without judgment. Amira listened intently, offering suggestions and support. As they talked, Kieran felt a surge of gratitude for her unwavering presence in his life.
You know,
He said softly,
I used to come to this cafe every day just to see you. I was too shy to say anything, but I felt drawn to your energy, your confidence.
Amira's cheeks flushed slightly. I noticed you too, she admitted. There was something about you. A hidden depth I wanted to explore. Their eyes met, and in that moment, Kieran felt a profound connection. He leaned across the table, cupping Amira's face gently in his hands, and kissed her. It was a kiss full of gratitude, love, and promise. As they left the cafe, hand in hand, Kieran felt a sense of excitement for the future. He was no longer the shy, reserved person he'd once been. Instead, he was stepping into a new role, confident, authentic, and ready to help others on their own journeys of self-discovery. The street was alive with the energy of the evening, people hurrying to and fro, lost in their own worlds. But Kieran and Amira moved at their own pace, savoring the moment and each other's company. As they walked, Kieran caught sight of their reflection in a shop window. The person looking back at him was almost unrecognizable from the Kieran of a few months ago. His posture was straighter, his eyes brighter, and there was an undeniable aura of self-assurance about him. What are you thinking? Amira asked,
Thanks for watching,
noticing
my girlies.
his contemplative
Be
expression.
sure to check out Patreon for more.
Kieran smiled.